Hey everyone, today I have Dustin Heiner on the show. Dustin is a real estate investing expert and founder of masterpassiveincome.com. Being successfully unemployed at 37 years of age by investing in real estate rental properties, he is now on a mission to help everyone to quit their job and never have a job again if they don't want one. He also helps his students build a successful real estate business anywhere in the country. Through his work at masterpassiveincome.com, Dustin has become one of the leading real estate rental property experts. He started masterpassiveincome.com from his home in 2015 while being a full-time employee, married with 4 children, owning and operating 2 other businesses, and being a full-time investor. He is very passionate about his mission to help others become successfully unemployed and never need a job again. In 2015, Dustin wrote his first book, How to Quit Your Job with Rental Properties, which quickly became a bestseller. From there, he began his business helping others to invest in rental properties to quit their job. Since then, Dustin has helped countless numbers of others start investing in real estate rental properties. Even if his students live in very expensive cities, he shows them how to invest all over the country where the numbers can make sense.
Be the change you want to see. Make a difference by giving your money a purpose, a mission to do good. Welcome to Money with Mission, where we show you how to create passive income so that you have options for how to work and how to live your life while leaving a legacy of positive social impact.
Hey, Dustin, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Hi, Felicia. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm a podcaster, but I'm mainly an investor. I invest in real estate, and I was blessed to be able to quit my job, like you said, and now I just have fun, go to the gym, hang out with my family, come on podcasts, and talk to great people like you. So thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome. If you guys aren't watching this on YouTube, behind Dustin is a picture of his kids at, we already talked about this, Horseshoe Bend. Is that the name of it? Yes.
Yes, it is.
In Arizona, northern part of the Grand Canyon. How often do you guys get up there?
Say probably once a year, maybe once every other year. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Okay.
All the way up to, Sedona is beautiful all the way up there. Like there's just, the trip is just terrific going all the way up to Grand Canyon and Horseshoe Bend and Page, Arizona.
Where do you live, Dustin?
Phoenix.
Okay. So you're not crazy far from there. I'm in Tulsa, which is a little bit more of a jaunt to get over to there. But, when you see pretty things like that, you guys get on YouTube, take a look at this picture. It's really nice. In your introduction, I talked about how you started your business in 2015 while you were full-time employed, had 4 kids, married. What got you to do something different? Because you had to take some time out of your life to be able to start a whole nother business.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Well, actually, 2015 is when I really started doing the more coaching of this stuff. And I started investing back in 2006. So
Gotcha.
before the crash. And so I'll quickly go into what got me into doing this. And the big reason why I wanted to invest in real estate was because I wanted to quit my job. Now, here's what happened. So when I was 37 years old, I was blessed to quit my job, but I was not brought up to ever do that. In fact, I was brought up, just like most of us, we're taught, go to school, get good grades, and then go to college, get thousands and thousands of dollars into debt, and then, get a degree, and then try to get a job, or hopefully if you become a doctor, you have your own career and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, I've always been entrepreneurial, where you start businesses and stuff like that. And so I even had a newspaper out. I'm old enough to know what a newspaper is. So I had a newspaper out. That's where you ride around at 5 a.m. and throw newspapers and bang them on garage doors, waking people up. I had a graphic and website design company, skateboard manufacturing business. I even started a convenience store and a pizzeria, all from scratch. But at the same time, I bought one rental property, and that one rental property was making me money. And I was like, man, this is great.
For a second. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you because you had talked about having done a lot and all that. And you went to college and you got good grades and you did all those other things. Were you in college when you were doing those? Were those after college, before college? I assume the newspaper route was before.
Newspaper route was before college, and then the graphic website design company was in college, and then the skateboard manufacturing was like getting out of college, and then the pizzeria and convenience store, I was out of college. I was probably about 25, 26 when I started that. Those were all started from scratch, but at the same time buying real estate. I think I bought my first real estate property when I was 28.
Okay.
But yeah, and at the same time we're having kids. Also with that, I'm working a full-time job, and I got the most
married. I'm sorry.
I'm a doer. In fact, I told my wife when we got married, I said, honey, you're going to realize about me, like when you get married to me, your life's not going to be boring. Like I'm a doer. So and she reluctantly agreed. And so we're blessed to do very well.
Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Keep going.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Sure. So I was also working I wanted the most stable, secure job I could ever get. So I got a job working 9 to 5, it was in California, a local county government doing IT work. So California's not going to go anywhere. Local county government's not going anywhere. IT's not going anywhere. So I got the most stable, secure job because that's what I was taught. We literally work for 40 plus years and then retire on what you have hopefully saved. So what I did was I knew I needed to be an investor because those other businesses, they were good, but they weren't making me enough money to be able to quit. So with that, I bought one rental property. It was making me money. And I thought, I need to be an investor. With this full-time job, I could still be an investor with all these businesses. But like for everybody happens, Felicia, life started getting in the way. My wife and I started having children, started having 1, 2, 3, and our 4th children. But I got to tell you the story of what really shoved me into being real estate investor and got me to be successfully unemployed. So when my wife had our 4th child, I went on paternity leave. That's where the dad stays home with the mom, changes poopy diapers and bonds with the baby and all that good stuff. And so I went back to work. And in that week, I go back to work on a Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon. I get a call from my boss's secretary, like the top dog. And she says, Dustin, would you please come to the office? And I said, sure. Then I hung up the phone. I thought for a second, why in the world are they calling me in the office? Like, this isn't normal. And I've seen plenty of movies. Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon is not a good sign.
Not a good time to get called, right?
No. And then I started remembering a couple months before I went on paternity leave, there was some rumors or some rumbling going on that there could potentially be layoffs in the county. I immediately shook it off. I said, there's no way. I've got 13 years seniority here. I've been doing a great job. No, there's no way. So I get up and I walk down the hallway to my boss's office. Now, this hallway isn't very long. In fact, it's kind of short, but every single step that I take, it feels like the hallway gets longer and longer and longer. And it feels like my feet become lead bricks because it's starting to weigh on me that I could potentially be laid off right now. I turn the corner, I get down the hallway and I turn the corner. And I see my boss's door. His door is closed and I see a secretary there, super nice, sweet old lady. And she looks at me kind of, sheepishly grinning at me, trying to console me with her eyes because she knows everything about what's going on. I know nothing about what's going on. And she says, Dustin, would you please have a seat? So I go and I sit down I think about, oh my goodness, if I get laid off right now, I start thinking about my life. If I get laid off, did I just waste my life doing all this? And then I started thinking, if I don't have a job to provide for my family, oh my goodness, am I a failure as a husband? Am I a failure as a father, as a man trying to provide for his family? Well, as I'm sitting there, my hands get all clammy, my forehead gets all sweaty because the nerves are just crushing down on me. Then the door to my boss's office opens up. And out walks a coworker of mine, a lady coworker of mine, and she is noticeably distraught. She has a piece of paper in her hands. She's noticeably upset, not necessarily crying, but you could tell her world's been rocked. She passes by me and my boss says, Dustin, would you please come into the office? So I get up and I go into his office and I get laid off. And remember, this is the government. Nobody gets fired or laid off from the government, but I did. So I take that layoff notice and I go and I sit down at my desk and I realize 2 things sitting there just getting laid off. And this is the reason why I tell the story. Well, the first one is I need to get another job. I need to be able to provide for my family. So I was really, really blessed, praise the Lord, to find another job in the same county, different department, wasn't having the money issues. So check, worked out really, really well. But sitting in that desk, I realized the second thing. I need to make sure that this never, ever happens to me again. I also need to make sure that everything is that for me and providing for my family is I'm independent. I'm not dependent on anything from customers to anything. I'm dependent on myself. I'm completely independent of anybody else. So this is what I did. I started buying rental property after rental property after rental property, even though I had a full-time job. I knew because I built a business, that business now makes me money without me working. I have other people do the work. And so what I realized was my worth was so much more than anybody could ever pay me. And so I started telling everybody right then and there, I'm an investor. It may so happen that 100% of my money comes from my job. That's now my part-time job. I'm a full-time investor. Fast forward the story, I've started buying property after property, 30 plus properties now, making me $250 a month or more. And I realized, my goodness, I'm losing money working at this job, even though I'm making $75,000 a year. So last part of the story, I went to my new boss, great boss and all. I said jokingly, hey boss, I'm laying you off. Like, here's your 2 weeks notice. And we both laughed. He says, Dustin, what are you going to do? I said, well, I don't have to do anything. I own real estate. It works for me. So I'm not going to be working anymore. So the last part of the story, if you remember that short hallway, they got very long. As I was walking, my feet became lead bricks. Well, I worked in downtown, walked a mile and a half every single day, probably done it thousands of times. Well, I felt like I was walking on clouds, walking to my car for the very last time, because I knew I was now independent and I would never need a job again. I'm not dependent on anybody because I have my inventory, my properties making me money in passive income. And I have a business that runs itself. I don't work at all in my business. A lot of people have heard of the book, The 4-Hour Work Week. Well, I think working 4 hours a week is for suckers. I don't want to work 4 hours a week. I don't even want to work 4 hours a month. I maybe work 30 minutes a month because I have a business that runs itself. And I just pulled my property management statements, make sure everything looks good, and put it back aside. That's what we do. What I love to do is I build a business so that it runs itself, and then I sit back and let them run the business. So I'll pause the story because you probably got plenty of questions.
I do. You talk fast. So
I do. Well, I'm excited. This is so much fun for me. Like I said, I get to have a lot of fun.
I mean, the passion is obvious. So I want to go back to you. You did college, you got the job, you bought your first rental property with your first job, or before you got into that first job?
It was after I got into the first job. I was probably working there maybe 4 or 5 years. Oh, and here's a funny, quick little story. So my wife and I got married. I was not taught to save money. I was taught to not go into debt, which was good, but not taught to save money. My wife was taught to save money. So she had like $15,000. We got married. 6 months later, I said, hey, honey, can I take the money that you saved and go start investing in real estate? Reluctantly, and eventually I got her to say yes. And now we're very, very blessed that money is now helping us to, turn it over and over again to buy more properties. But yes, I had been working maybe, I'd say probably 4 or 5 years.
So when you decided to buy that first property, what got you there?
It was the idea of passive income. That's why I started my brand, The Master of Passive Income, because when I buy one rental property, I literally don't do anything, and that property works for me over and over and over again. And I will literally give these properties to my kids. It's generational wealth. And so getting into that first property, I realized really the impetus was realizing there's something other than active income, working 1 hour and getting paid for that 1 hour. It doesn't matter if you're working a job or you're, let's say you have a customer, you're still working 1 hour and getting paid for that 1 hour. I wanted to work one time and get paid over and over again. So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, blew my mind. It's like, oh, there's another way. And so I went every which way. So I started businesses, those businesses hiring people. Those were a lot of work. But then I realized the easiest one was once I created a business, bought a piece of property and put it into my business, then I didn't do any work because my property now worked for me. And that was the creation of now passive income, because now that property's working for me and I have other people that are also doing all the work in the business.
Gotcha. So I heard you read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I did too. That was my jump off the cliff, let's do this moment also.
Yeah.
And you guys, I hope you're catching how many times Dustin says business. He's not saying I buy rental. He does say I buy rental properties, but it is bigger than buying a property. So I know a lot of you, I talk to a lot of my physician colleagues, talk about buying real estate, and they're going to buy a property and then they're going to manage it, or it just becomes a big pain in the butt for them because of all the work they have to do. Dustin's talking about building a business that involves buying rental properties. He just said, I do it once. he finds the property, he does all the numbers on the property, and then buys it and puts it into his business, lets somebody else deal with it. How did you get there? Now, did you go to school for business? How did you figure that whole thing out?
Yeah, that's a great question. So how did I get there? So yes, I went to school for entrepreneurship. And I went to college, graduated with entrepreneurship. So I was starting businesses before I even thought about investing. And you hit the nail on the head with having a business. So I went to school, got some business education, started many businesses. So I had a foundation of business, but I'll tell you how I got into it. So it was in 2006 when I first started investing, and I was watching, it was like a late night infomercial. We've all seen these quote unquote gurus say, hey, we're coming to your town, a free 2-hour seminar. We're going to teach you how to invest. It's like, great, I'm going to go. So I went to that free 2-hour seminar, all hype, all sales pitch. And they say, now run to the back and go give us thousands of dollars. So I did that. I was like, yay. And I ran to the back and I gave them $1,000 for a 2-day seminar. The sad thing was they gave you so little information that you could barely act on it, but it was all a sales pitch to get into even more training, like an $80,000 course, a $60,000. It was horrific. I didn't have the money. So I took the little bit that they taught in this small little seminar, and I went and did what they told me. And my property manager started stealing from me within 6 months. So it was horrible because let me tell you the wrong way that they tell you. I'll tell you very, very quickly, but then forget it. And I'll give you the right way to do it, the way we build a business. So this is what they tell you, or told me and tell everybody, is we find an area of the country anywhere to invest, and we find a property and we run the numbers. Basically, we calculate all the expenses, make sure we rent it for like $50 more. You want a little bit of money, but they say you'll invest for appreciation, which is what you'll love, which I'll pause that and say, I don't invest for appreciation. I am creating generational wealth. I'm going for cash flow. Yes. So from that point, they said, now spend thousands of dollars to buy the property, then spend thousands of dollars to fix up the property, and then find a tenant, and then find a property manager. Well, in my opinion, that's just about backwards. Yes. In fact, I have had many people tell me, this is what I did, Dustin. And turns out they try to call up the property manager after they had done everything and say, hey, property manager, here's my property address is #1 Happy Street. And would you be able to manage the property? And the property manager says, no, I'm not going to manage a property. I'll get shot if I go over to that area. So I won't actually manage that. Well, what happens now is you don't have an asset anymore. You have a liability. How much better would it be is if you built the business first, and before you bought a property, you say, hey, property manager, I'm looking to buy this property, #1 Happy Street. Tell me about it. Tell me how much it rents for, what type of clientele I'm going to have, vacancy factor, and will you manage it? If they say, no, I won't manage that property, you say, okay, move on. I didn't waste money and time. Yeah. But what we do is we build the entire business with the right people in the business. Oh, let me tell you one quick analogy of what it looks like. If you're going to start a convenience store, convenience store, candy bars, soda machines, and everything, you're not going to sign a lease on a location, open the doors, and set a box of candy bars in there on the ground. Now, you wouldn't do that. You go out of business in 2 seconds. But what you would do is you would build the business first. You get the gondolas. Those are shelving units that all the candy bars go on, the countertops, cold storage, bank accounts, cash registers, insurance, employees, everything in the business before you buy any inventory. Same thing with real estate investing. We build the entire business, and every single piece of property is a piece of inventory that we put into our business. That's how, once we build the business, we can scale it so fast, because all it is just finding another piece of inventory, verifying that our experts, our property managers, contractors, roofers, inspectors, everybody, it verifies everything. And then we buy the property and put it into our business. And I invest all over the country. All my students, we invest all over the country, but we build the business first.
And okay, so what I heard, the #1 step is the team. You don't go buy the property first. You build the team first. You build the structure.
There's one thing before that. I'll give you, since we're going like a list, I'll give you how I teach my students. The first thing we look for is a city or a location that has good inventory. Those are the types of homes that we want to either buy, or these are the types of homes that everybody wants to either buy or rent, meaning they're cookie cutter type homes, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, right price point where we can make money. I suggest $250 or more in passive income. And with that, what we do is we find
per property. Gotcha.
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Per property. So we find a city that has good inventory. We don't want to find a whole city that has one property that we buy and we can't continue to build. It's like, it's a lot of work for just one property. And it'll be hard to find a property manager and all the people. We find a good city anywhere in the country. In fact, we invest all over the country. The Midwest is fantastic right now. But what we do is we find a city with cookie cutter type homes, good inventory. I suggest 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 to maybe 1,600 square feet, not too small that families won't live in there, not too big that there's extra walls to paint and carpet to lay down and all that sort of stuff. But these are homes that people either want to rent or buy. From that, you have inventory. Once you know that that city has inventory, we pause looking at that. In fact, a lot of my students, they say, Dustin, I found a city, good inventory. I already have 5 realtors looking at properties for me. And I said, whoa, stop. That's the last step. Realtors are the last step. Finding inventory, that's easy. What we need to do is next, inventory, then we find the right property manager. That's literally the next step, because if we can't find somebody to manage a property, we're not going to buy even in that city. Just like if you created that convenience store and you have everything built, you have all your money into it, inventory's in there. You find somebody walking on the street. Hey, you got a pulse? Come in here and manage my business, manage my money, manage my customers, manage my inventory, everything. No, you wouldn't do that. You would interview these people multiple times to find the right person. So inventory first, then you need a manager next, and then a mortgage broker.
Real quick.
Yep.
This is all great stuff. And I want to just back up to the city. And it's not even, you don't even necessarily look at the whole city. I'm sure you're looking at a part of the city, and you're looking at all the demographics of the city. You're looking at what's going on in the city, not just Podunk, Kentucky, because it has some houses there that people need. It's more going to just, it's what you guys pay attention, because this Dustin's saying a ton of stuff right here. A city that has inventory where somebody wants to rent it or buy it, not just has inventory, because there's lots of places with inventory that nobody wants. And that's why it's there. So there's got to be some stuff going on in that city. Perfect. I like it. I was jumping into the team, but yes, where do I want to be? Then you got to find the team once you figure out where you want to be. And when do I buy a property?
That's a great question. You buy a property after the people, the experts who you have selected to be a part of your business, basically sign off. So first thing for me, making sure the property manager says, oh, yes, this is a good area. This property looks good. This is how much is probably going to be about to fix up the property. So good. I have some numbers to put in there. I have somebody to manage the property. And then my next expert, my mortgage broker. Hey, mortgage broker, can I buy it with this down payment? Or like tell me everything out. They want to get me a loan. So that's their job. And so they're going to be doing everything in there, getting that mortgage. The next one, we're looking at inspectors. I love having good home inspections because I want to make sure that this there's no surprises in this property. So these are experts. Another one would be insurance agents, making sure we get the right price on the insurance for the property. Some areas, like I give you an example, Houston, you might need flood insurance because of the hurricanes that come through. So you need to be well protected. But what we do is we find these right people before we buy the business. Now, one fun thing that I get a lot of people ask me, well, Dustin, how do you afford a property manager? I said, I don't. I don't pay for my property manager. I don't have to get a job to pay for my property managers. My tenants pay, just like this. Exactly. I don't pay my mortgage. I don't pay my taxes. I don't pay my insurance. I don't pay for my property manager. My tenants pay for all that. It so happens that the money comes into me and I pay out those bills, but I am having them pay all of these things. That's how I'm able to literally not work all month long. Maybe, like I said, 30 minutes a month, because I have other people doing the work, but it's a business. I know that I calculate all of my expenses and then I rent it for $250 or more, or at least I make sure that I can rent it for $250 or more.
Yeah, got it. So I'm listening. I'm driving to work thinking, I don't have time I can figure out a city. Okay, I can do that. But I don't have time now to figure out a property manager, a mortgage broker, an inspector, a contractor. How do I do all that?
That's a great question. And you know what's actually funny? So I've been teaching since 2015 is when I really started. Like I had friends and family members and coworkers and friends from church. How are you quitting your job? And I would say, I'm investing in real estate. And then the next question is always, can you show me? And so I would be teaching people. Fast forward, now I've had over 1,000 students now, coaching them how to do it. But what my passion is teaching somebody how to fish, not just giving a fish. If you're a doctor right now and you're listening to this, anybody can just call up a turnkey company and say, hey, give me a property. It already has a tenant, already has a property manager, and boom, you're done. Well, in my opinion, it's a little dicey. And the big reason why is because when you're doing that, this company is in business to sell properties, and they're keeping a lot of that money because they're buying it lower, fixing it up, but you're also getting somebody else's business. You have no clue what that is. So fast forward to now with your answer, your question, Felicia. So I've always taught people how to build their business themselves. But now, because I've been doing this for so long, I have so many people asking me, well, Dustin, I don't have the time to do this. Can you do anything to help me with that? I said, you know what? I'm actually working on that. Yeah. So I started thinking about this. So I'm actually creating now a done for you program, not where I give you a property, go to turnkey company. They'll give you that. I want to teach you. But my goal is to have 5 different cities in the country. And then you as a student will come in and say, okay, Dustin's already found like 5 property managers. I just call each one, make sure which one works with me the best. Is this many realtors or this mortgage brokers, basically a done for you program. You just plug and play. But the key is though, if you're going to do this, you have to promise me that you're not just going to jump in there and just not learn anything. You're also going to get a course, like my full course as well. I strongly suggest you learn that too, because it's not just buying a property. Anybody can just buy a property and find a property manager, put them together, and hope to run a business. No, in fact, that's what I did, and it failed on me pretty miserably. But there's so much more about how to run the business, how to manage a business, how to save money, how to make money. There's so much more to learn, just like in any business. Like if you're a doctor, my goodness, if you have your business, let alone working on somebody, helping somebody, you have to learn so much. You can't just jump in. Like if I give you keys to a car, like a Ferrari, without you learning how to drive, that could be kind of dangerous. Let's learn how to drive first, but it's also creating that done for you.
And just, I don't know if you know this about doctors, but we tend to think we can do anything sometimes. You get out there, it's like, well, I can do this, but well, how hard could it be to run a business like that? Give us a horror story about when you first started and your property. And like I can give my own, but I'll let you tell your horror stories about, when you just go tell a horror story. Yeah. So people know it's not so simple necessarily to find the right property manager. And if you haven't built your business to be able to do things kind of automatically, you're going to be answering the phone because your property manager can't take care of this, or they don't know how to take care of that, or it just can be a big pain in the butt.
How about I'll add one more. How about they don't even call you back when they have your money? Oh my goodness. Like everybody knows that more than likely every single person listening to this, like you probably have at least one, if not 2 or 3 people that are realtors that are in your life. Like you understand that this person's a realtor. I literally know like 5 or 6 just in my gym. Mm-hmm. But with that, there is a lot of realtors, property managers. Oh my goodness. A fraction of those types of people are property managers. Here is a horror story. I'll give you 2 horror stories, one from me and then another horror story from students. So the biggest thing that I hate about property managers is the lack of communication. Now, the communication leads into experience and trustworthiness. That's like getting in the door. Like if I can't communicate with you, I can't even tell if you're trustworthy. I can't even tell if you have an experience. So communication is huge. That's like the first step to get into the other ones. So for me, the very, very first time I was following those quote unquote gurus telling me how to do it, and this is the wrong way. Remember, I told you, hopefully you forgot how to do it, but now remember the right way. But what I did was I did everything. And then I just found the first person, literally the first person. You're a property manager? Well, great. Come on, manage my property. I'm a pretty trustworthy person. Like I trust most people. And so I just said to go right ahead. Within 6 months, I was getting receipts they look kind of like, hey, this looks kind of fake. Like this doesn't look like a good receipt. On my property management statement, seeing like, hey, nothing's adding up. It's just really weird. And then getting $1,000 expenses for like a main drain when I didn't even know what was going on. I'm like, what is going on? Mm-hmm. I found out she started her own company that was a Subway sandwich type of restaurant, but that was going under. So it seemed like taking money from me. So I fired her quickly. And then at the same time, found a good property manager. She's actually been with me for like 20 years. Now, that's the horror stories because I just found the first person and said, okay, let me just have you now go ahead and manage my properties, which was bad. Now, what we do is we interview multiple times. In fact, my students, I give them a list of 22 questions and answers that we have to ask them and get their answers back. We want to make sure that they're right fit for our business. So let me give you a quick horror story from students. Actually, this happens to a lot of students. The horror story, and think about wasting time. And this is why I'm thinking that done for you is going to work out for people like doctors and dentists, people that have more money than time. The downside is I say, okay, student, go ahead and get a list of 10 different property managers in the city. Like you found good inventory in the city, which is great. Get a list of 10 property managers. And I want you to call them at least one time and set up another interview. Like you interview them once and then interview them a second time. This is what happens like all the time. They come back and say, Dustin, I went and I called 10 of them. 3 of them called me back. 7 of them didn't even call me back. And I said, okay, here's a good thing. Number one, those 7, imagine right now, they don't have your money and they're not calling you back. Imagine if and when they had your money and they're not calling you back. How much worse? They're like, oh, I'm not going to listen to or talk to this guy. And they hang up. So that's a horror story is if you find somebody that is not the right fit, or you buy a house and say, oh, I'm now going to find a property manager. No. The good ones are literally a needle in the haystack. But if you do it right, you will find them. In fact, anybody can just put a hat on and say, I'm a property manager. And they put out a website or whatever, but then they stop because it's hard. It's a different personality than being a realtor. All that to say, when you find the right property manager, they're like gold to you. I love my property managers. In fact, I love not talking to them too, because my business runs. I would go 6 months without talking to my property manager because I give them the systems, procedures, and processes in my business. I say, run my business this way. I don't care how you do with other landlords. My business do X, Y, and Z, and they run it. And I am very, very happy.
We started without property managers. We just bought our own properties. We were managing them ourselves. It took 2008 happening when we realized that wasn't working. I realized it before, totally. But we kept doing. We could do it. But then 2008 happened. It was like, it's hard to be a property manager and be a nice person. Sometimes it feels like, because you're kind of married to that thing, that house, and you want to help people and
being your own, right? Being your own property manager, it's so hard to do that because you're personal. Like you're talking to the tenant and you're like, oh, I feel you. But the great thing about having a property manager, there's a third party. I tell my property manager, blame me. Like just say, oh, the landlord wants this guy. Like I don't care.
Exactly. 100%, 100%. Because I just remember it feels like, well, I'm going to get you your money in a month, in another week or so. And you would be like, okay, I got you. I understand. Don't manage your own properties. It makes absolutely no sense. Make sure you run the numbers so that you can a property manager fits in your numbers. The 250 is after all your expenses, and one of the expenses is the property manager. So, and Dustin said it truly, they are hard to find. You want to talk about more horror stories, just give me a call. There's a lot of them out there. It is tough. I love your system, and I know you haven't given us all the details of it, but this makes so much sense to me that it's really, really good. See, what else was I going to ask you? You got properties all over the country. You got lots of students you're helping. You're working on I'm going to say the word turnkey, but it's not in the traditional turnkey system to build
done for you business,
not turnkey properties to build your business. Key. You think about buying rental properties and owning rental properties. Let's think about owning rental properties as a business, not buying them. Buying them is the last step and the most interchangeable piece of your business. That inventory is like, who cares what candy bar it is? You just want candy bars for people to buy. Who cares what house it is? As long as somebody's going to rent it or somebody wants to ultimately buy it, that's what you want for your properties.
That's a great point. And the same exact thing. Like if you have a convenience store, you might buy 100 different types of candy bars. You may only eat one of those, maybe, but other people will. And so just because you won't live in that property doesn't mean other people won't. In fact, I have a lot of properties that people love living in because they love that state. I have Ohio. I don't want to live in Ohio because it's too cold there. I love Arizona. I'm down here. And so you're 100% right, Felicia. I love how you and I see so eye to eye on this, because we have done this. Like, I'm an investor. I'm not just somebody that just, oh, let me just start
Doing a
teaching this, read a
course.
book and now start.
Yes.
No, this is literally from me screwing up and then figuring out what's bad, pulling it out of my system,
Yep.
what's right, keeping it in. But also, here's the great thing, Felicia. I've literally taught like thousands of people now, and there's nothing like teaching somebody in order to refine what you are actually, inherently, like, okay, this is what it is. But then I had to figure out how to actually relay that out. But then now having that done for you with the teaching, I'm really looking forward to helping a lot more people.
That's really exciting. You guys all know this. Every surgeon out there knows when you have to teach somebody else how to do it, you really have to think through your steps on how you're getting that. Oh, wait, you can't just say, take that from there, because then somebody reaches their hand in there and rips on, like, okay, that didn't work. Okay. You refine your processes. Dustin is here to help keep you from making the same mistakes. You'll make mistakes, I promise, but you don't have to make the same ones that Dustin made, because he can keep you from doing that. And we all think we know more than the teacher. It happens all across the board. It's like, I don't think I need to do that step. I'm going to skip that step and go on to this next one. Then you take your deep breath. It's like, okay, I'm going to go back and take that step. And make
there's
sure
a reason why those steps are there.
There is a reason. There is a reason. So, Dustin, how do people get in touch with you? This has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, totally. So I love Instagram. I've been on there, so I'm on there. So the Dustin Heiner. I'm not that arrogant. That's just the only handle I could find. THE Dustin Heiner, HEINER. I also have my own podcast. It's a solo show. It's called the Master Passive Income Podcast. I love just teaching, literally just giving this stuff out for free. Check me out on YouTube as well. Same type of stuff, just giving all this free content out. But I do have that free course. Did you want to share that?
Yes. Dustin's course. This is a lot of the information. Go to masterclass@moneywithmission.com. Send us an email, say, I want that course. We'll send you the link to get in there. You guys, if you're thinking about owning rental properties, because I know that's how you're thinking, think about owning a rental property business. And just like you went to medical school to learn how to do what you're doing in medicine, or law school to learn what you're doing in law, or dental school. So just like you went to those schools, you need to go to class, you need to take a course in how to build your rental property business. Dustin has that course. We got the free masterclass. I'm sure in there, it gives you a ton of information that you might be able to run out and make massive action. Dustin is there for you if you need more help.
Awesome. Yeah. My goal is, my first goal when I was 27 years old was to quit my job in 10 years. 37 years old, I was blessed to quit my job. My new goal, because I have so much extra time and, just desire to serve people, my new goal is to help 1 million people become financially independent by investing in real estate. And so this is why I get on podcasts. This is why I just literally give away as much as I can for free so people can change their lives. So I appreciate you having me on the show, Felicia.
This has been so good. 1 million people. Let's help Dustin get there, and Dustin will help you get there. It's amazing. Thank you so much. Masterclass@moneywithmission.com, and we will get you to Dustin's free masterclass. Talk to you later. What is your biggest fear about investing? The primary reason most of us don't invest isn't lack of money or lack of motivation. It's fear of making a mistake and losing. Come on and play Cash Flow Classic. Did you know that games are the best way to learn anything new? When you play Cash Flow Classic, you won't feel the painful humiliation or monetary loss you experience when you make the wrong stock pick or your real estate investment doesn't go as you thought it would. You can practice buying and selling stocks or investing in real estate for capital gains or cash flow as often as you like. Simulate how you would handle real investing opportunities before you shell out your hard-earned money. It's fun, it's safe, and it's free to play. We're playing regularly. I choose 6 women to play. Yes, ladies, it's all for us. And we have had a great time. Go to moneywithmission.com, click on Cash Flow Classic to register for our next game. Come on, let's play.
You've been listening to Money with Mission. There are projects happening right now where you can have a great financial return while positively affecting the lives of others. To learn more about our opportunities, go to moneywithmission.com.